Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Jade. I'm our program coordinator at Focus. It is an absolute honor today to introduce Ashley and Chris Moats to you. They are over at Team Up. Ashley and Chris, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jade. I think Ashley's going to share her screen, and we're gonna have a nice presentation for you guys. Some great strategies to take home with you. Just 1 second while Ashley gets the PowerPoint up.
Here we are.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, let's get started. So this is a presentation on unlocking communication, a guide for parents of children ages birth to 3 years old. So we'll start off by just sharing a little bit about who we are. I'll share a little bit about our story and kind of like how we came to be in this position of presenting to you guys today. And then Ashley's going to walk you all. Ashley's our amazing clinical director and a speech language pathologist. And Ashley's going to walk you through the tips and tricks for how to unlock communication with your child. So let's start off with who we are. Ashley, do you want to kick us off?
Yes. So I'm Ashley, as Chris said. I am a speech language pathologist and a clinical director at Team Up Therapy. And so I graduated with my master's in science from Auburn University and have practiced in a multidisciplinary clinic and now practice at Team Up Therapy. And so super excited to be with y'all today. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Ashley. My name is Chris. I am not a therapist. I do more of the management side, but Ashley and I are brother sister combo. And yeah, we started Team Up Therapy last year, and been so great to work together and to serve some families together. Um, so with that, I'll share a little bit about our story and how we started Team Up. So what really brings me and Ashley together is our youngest sister, Anna, who was born with Down syndrome. And this had a very big impact on our life. Anna needed a lot of support growing up, pediatric speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy. Um, there was just so many people like in the community who needed to be involved to support her. And we didn't know about like organizations like Focus that could help us out. And so there were a lot of challenges. Anna Anna had an amazing team behind her who really teamed up and worked with her every day and worked on things like her speech and her other therapies. And she is currently she loves to say that she's the first student at Auburn to ever have Down syndrome. She is a barista at Biddy and Bo's coffee shop, and she's also an accomplished equestrian, huge Taylor Swift fan. So Anna's had a huge impact on our life. And she also really inspired me and Ashley to want to help more families, to give more families family-centered care, like the care that we received growing up and like the care that Anna received growing up, so that we could continue to serve more families like ours. Next slide. And so Ashley and I decided to team up and start a pediatric speech therapy clinic, a virtual pediatric speech therapy clinic called Team Up Therapy. And we started this based on our own experience with three key things in mind. We really wanted to build a different kind of speech therapy clinic that was family centered. That was always really big for us growing up, was everyone in the family was involved. It wasn't just Anna working with the therapist. It was also Anna coming home and our whole family getting together to work with her on the exercises that she needed to make progress in between sessions. So that's family centered. We're really focused on ultra convenient. Where we grew up in rural South Georgia, there just weren't many speech therapists around. Maybe y'all have seen that in some of your areas too, but wait lists for speech therapy are crazy right now. And so we want to go where you are. And so when I say ultra convenient, I mean making life as easy as possible for the family to get the care that they need. And then lastly, no wait lists. Like I mentioned before, wait lists for speech therapy are just crazy right now. And so something that Ashley and I are really passionate about is bringing a lot of amazing speech therapists to Georgia and making sure that we always have enough providers to serve the communities that we're serving so that our families don't have to wait. Because when you're a little kid, or you're a parent who has a child, months is an eternity. And so that's why Ashley and I decided to start Team Up Therapy. And that's why how we got connected with Focus, who has just been an unbelievable resource for some of our families. And with that, I'll pass it on to Ashley, and she'll walk you through what we'll be talking about today.
Amazing. Thanks, Chris. So today our goal is to equip you with the tools to enhance communication, increase overall engagement, and build overall engagement and connection with your child. And so going to be looking at some practical tips and tricks that you can use in your everyday life that you can incorporate to work on building those foundational communication skills in the critical time of early development. And so if you have any questions throughout, please don't hesitate to type it in the chat, or we can also talk about it at the end. If you think of one, though, send it in the chat. Would love to hear it. So we are going to be talking about five main points with the building engagement and connection with your child. And they're get face-to-face, developing joint attention, modeling language, the power of music, and play. And so we'll start with get face-to-face. So get face-to-face, this one is really as simple as it sounds in getting face-to-face, getting on your child's level. So this makes it as easy as possible to foster a connection with your child. And so this really is as simple as it sounds. Like I said, it's getting on the floor with your child. It's laying down if they're laying down, or sitting down beside them, in front of them. If you're picking them up, being face to face, working on sounds in that way. And so when you get face to face with them, it sounds so simple, but it's something we'll continue to touch on throughout the presentation. But it immediately, especially with kiddos that have a little bit more difficulty engaging with others, it makes it as easy as possible. You're right there. Instead of having to look up at you to see, or look to the side or turn or anything like that, you're automatically right there, which just makes it that much easier to facilitate connection and communication. So next is developing joint attention. So joint attention is when there's something going on, or there's a certain object and there's at least two people involved. And in this case, you and your child, and they see it and they see you and they want to share. You want to share in that interest together. So it is purely social. It's not to try to request something like, oh, you see, I'm looking at that cup, I want that cup. But it's, oh, I'm enjoying this. Are you seeing this? I want to make sure you're seeing this because I'm enjoying this. And so joint attention is very important in the foundational skills of communication. And so we're going to talk about some strategies of how you can encourage those moments of shared interest. So number one, I said it'd come back quick, get face to face, joint attention, building that connection, that shared interest. And so much easier when you're already on the same level, you're right there. Next is pay attention to what your child is paying attention to and comment on it. So if, for example, you see and observe, sometimes it's important to just wait and see and observe and just see, what does your child do naturally? And you see them looking outside, and there's a bird flying by. And so you might not know exactly what they're looking out there, but you're paying attention to what they're looking at. You're like, oh, a bird. The bird is flying. Tweet, 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 tweet. And then they look at you and they're like, wait, that's what I was looking at. You're joining them, you're meeting them where they are. Instead of trying to bring them where you are, see, where are they? What are they looking at? What are they interested in? And comment on it. Give them the language to support what it is they're looking at. So yes, how did you get face-to-face with your sibling? Do you have any concrete real life examples from personal experience? Absolutely. So with my sibling specifically, With Anna, it would just be, okay, we're maybe instead of like sitting side by side, we're like one of us is sitting in front of the other, or we were the same height. And so I didn't have to move around as much to be on her same level. But thinking about with there being a height difference, or thinking about kiddos that I've served in speech therapy, I spend a majority of the time on my knees because we were on the floor doing play a lot. And so I don't even take the time, honestly, to get up and walk around and move to the next place. I'm just moving around on my knees so that I'm staying at that same level. And if they are, on the floor on their tummy, like rolling around a car or train, like I am doing my best to be in a similar position so that we are on that same level. So thinking about, you're on your stomach rolling a car, like I get on my stomach too, and I'm, have my hand here and I'm doing the same thing they are. Or it's a lot about positioning. And so moving to that same position, a lot of it is about height and actually getting on that same level there. And so that was a great question. It's a lot about just your positioning in general and adapting where you are and how you're moving and how you're standing and sitting to engage your child. That was a great question. Thank you. Hold objects up to your face. This is another way to kind of promote the same idea of getting face to face, but for example, a lot of us, most of us, it's very natural, like when we're holding things and talking about them, to hold them kind of just like in front of us. And like I have this cupcake here and I'm talking about this cupcake, and I might be playing with it, it might be on the floor, those different things. But a huge, again, simple thing, but something that once you start doing it, it's habit and happens very naturally, is instead holding it up to your face. And so if your child, push this back a little bit, if your child is interested in this cupcake and they're looking at this cupcake, great, they're paying attention to what you're holding, but they're not really engaged with you. They're not making that connection with you. And so they might be missing the language part, and they're definitely missing the connection part. And so rather than saying, oh, I want you to look at me, or working on eye contact or anything like that, it's really working on just overall engagement. And so if I simply move the cupcake from where it is here to my face, it naturally brings the child's gaze to your face. And so whether I'm playing with a bus and I hold it up here before I go vroom, 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 and then and then not only are we getting that engagement here, but we're hearing that language, we're paying attention to, and it's a very just natural way to go about building engagement and not only being on their level, but then it's like bringing it to your face here. So paying attention to, again, how you are holding things and how you are moving your own body. Next is doing something unexpected. And so, because, you're used to, you stack up blocks, or if you have this cupcake, for example, you're pretending to eat it or you're sharing it. And something that, again, it's silly. You're going to feel silly doing some of these things, but that's when you're doing it right. You should feel a little silly. We all enjoy being silly. And so the unexpected, I put things on my head all the time. Again, it brings attention to the face, but it also is unexpected. You're not expecting me to put this cupcake on my head, because why would I put this cupcake on my head? It makes no sense. But I put it on my head, and then the child's like interested in the cupcake. They look up and they're like, why is that on the head? I'm like, oh no, it fell off. And I'm like super animated about it, and they're like, what's going on there? And most of the time they're interested in something like that and want you to continue, or they might even try to do it themselves. But it's doing the unexpected, okay, that's not what I was expecting them to do. And so that grabs my attention more, and I'm more interested in it automatically. And then commenting on and pointing out different things throughout the day and modeling language. So thinking about it kind of like you're narrating. narrating what they're doing. So it's kind of providing context and meaning to what's already happening. So a train goes by on the train track. Wow, look at that train. Chugga, 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 choo choo. A train. The train is going by. And you're just talking about what is happening. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in modeling language and what that can look like specifically. But thinking about, okay, because that's already something they're interested in because they're doing it. And so it's something they're already doing. It's another part of like meeting them where they are in that. So next, the modeling language. So there are a lot of different components of language. A lot of times it can be easy to think about language as simply verbal output, saying words, but there's so much more to language than that. For you and me who have words and can communicate with words, we still communicate with facial expressions and gestures and movements and our tone of voice and all those types of things. And so there are foundational skills to build up to before we even get to saying a verbal word or sound, if that is the way we communicate. And so let's talk about some of those things to encourage your child's speech development. So first, use visual supports whenever possible. So what this does is it provides greater meaning or understanding to surrounding language. And the simple fact of the matter is we don't say things that we don't understand. This is true for us. This is true for kiddos. Some kids do, but it's very more likely than not, we're not going to say what we don't understand because it doesn't have any meaning to us. I'm not going to throw out a random complex vocabulary word that I have no idea what it means in conversation or in this presentation now, because why would I? It has no meaning to me. And it would have, well, it might have meaning to you if you knew it, but I would not be using it correctly, probably. It would just have no meaning. There's no purpose behind it. In the same way, it's important to focus on understanding the meaning of language and ensuring the child understands the meaning of what you're saying and what they could possibly say before we expect them to say it or communicate it themselves. And so, for example, I have some props. If oh, do you want to eat a snack? Let's go eat a snack. And so I'm saying these words, I'm modeling language, but what is a snack? What am I talking about? If I don't know that word, then I don't really know, that might not have much meaning to me. But if I hold up an apple is what we have for a snack. You want to eat a snack? Let's eat a snack. I have an apple. Apple. Let's eat an apple. Then all of a sudden we have the meaning of apple. Like I'm holding this concrete object, this visual that shows me, okay, like that's what she's talking about. Since she's saying words, things are coming out and she's holding this, the two must be connected. We make that connection there. And so visuals are really, really helpful in building that understanding of language. Imitating sounds that your child is making. So this is beneficial for two reasons. One, it's super, super fun. And it's unexpected. And so it goes back to that level of like doing something unexpected. Try it. It'll catch your kiddo off guard if you've never done it before. Especially if it's a silly sound or different sound. Doesn't really matter what kind of sound it is or what they're saying, just imitating it. We focus a lot on maybe them imitating us and what we're doing and thinking about, we have to first build that understanding of what is imitation? Why would they do what we're doing? And have to show them, oh, we can do the same thing. And so when we imitate what they're doing, they're like, oh, ga, 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 ga. And they're just over here and you say, oh, ga, 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 ga. They just did what I did. And maybe I'll try it again to see if it happens again. Or maybe I'll start to think, wait, they're doing what I'm doing. Maybe I can do what they are doing. Imitation is a skill like any other that we have to learn and understand. And it's so crucial in language development, seeing what someone else is doing and wanting to do the same thing. But first we have to understand that we even can do the same thing. And we build that skill by showing them, I can do what you're doing, meaning you can do what I'm doing. Try a mirror. This is super fun. And the mirror allows them to see that, because if you think about it, like, for example, you're looking at me right now If we were like in a conversation or talking, you can see me, but you can't see yourself. And so when you go in front of a mirror, all of a sudden you can see both people. You can see yourself and you can see your parent. And if you're doing this with your child. And so not only can I see, oh, that's what they're doing, but I can see, oh, I'm not doing the same thing, or I am doing the same thing. In the same way, if they're doing something you imitate it in the mirror, they can look and see, oh, wait, we're doing the same thing here. That's the same. And now it's different. And so they're learning, okay, it just gives them an additional visual feedback. So modeling gestures and words for your child's message. So for example, if you know they want to be picked up, they just come up to you and they're like looking up at you, and you know that means you want to be picked up. As a parent, you or caregiver, you know your child very well and are very in tune with their needs. And so it can be very natural in that moment to just be like, oh, I know she wants to be picked up, so I'm going to pick her up. But taking the time to pause, be like, okay, what's the message she's trying to communicate here? She's communicating, I want you to pick me up. And so how can I model that? And so we want to combine like gestures and words. Gestures give a visual representation. The words say what they can say. And like, so, oh, up, I want up before picking her up. That doesn't mean she has to reach up before you pick her up or that she has to say up before you pick her up, but it models that language. It gives the words or gestures that it could be using to communicate that message that they're communicating in that moment. Repetition. So this one can also feel really silly because saying a word over and over again, like, what am I doing? But repetition is so important for building, again, that understanding of language and thinking about it they might see bubbles and like know they enjoy bubbles and like get excited about it, but they might not know the word bubble is associated with it. And know that those sounds going together mean this object. Or might not know, they know that they want the door to be open, but they don't know how to communicate open. And so building that understanding so they can communicate it. So an example would be with open for the door. If they wanted to open the door, let's open the door. I'm saying open a lot there, but honestly, you can't say it too many times and model it in that way. And speaking of modeling, it's very natural for us to ask questions or say, oh, can you say this? Or, oh, what is this? And when possible, resisting that urge to ask and focusing on modeling the language for two reasons. One, when you're asking them to say that, or when you're wanting them to say that, it kind of adds an additional component of all of a sudden you're making a request of them or asking them a question. And that in itself is a more complex language skill. So maybe I don't know what you're asking is a possibility. Maybe two, oh, there's like all of a sudden pressure on the situation. So now like, I'm not really sure what to say. Or three, I know you want me to do something, but I'm not really sure what it is. And I don't see like the purpose behind it. It's not meaningful to me to say this word or make this sound when I don't know why I'm doing it. It's not motivating. So I don't see the purpose. So I probably won't. But when we're modeling language, then it provides the opportunity of hearing it over and over again. And this is in providing meaning in a low pressure way. And in a way, like when you're actually doing those things where it has increased meaning for the child, and they're able to put that meaning to that action or movement or request and have less pressure to like try and use it themselves in a natural way. So just see great progress with that. So trying to focus on modeling the language yourself rather than asking them to. We see more likely to for them to participate in that and be engaged and connected. And then using signs. So we talked about, so this is an apple, and I can show you that this right here is an apple. I can't show you more. It's a concept that there's nothing I can hold up to show you this means more. Same with all done. Same with help. There's nothing I can show you that's like, oh, this is help. This is a bus. Those work with objects, but not some of those core words like that. And so what signs do is they give a visual and a gesture. It could do multiple things, but one of the things it does is provide a visual to provide additional context for what that word means. It helps build that understanding like we were talking about. So if I'm saying more, and you might notice everything I do, it immediately goes in front of my face. So, oh, more, you want more. All of a sudden, okay, there's a visual representation of that I'm seeing over and over again anytime I want something additional. And it also provides a way, kids often use gestures before they use spoken language. And so it provides a way for them to communicate that message more effectively, just grows language skills. Like they're able to communicate more sooner and have that visual representation of that or a way to communicate it with the gesture. And so, so signs that I usually start with if a kiddo isn't using these or doesn't have a way to communicate these messages yet that I see is very important are more as a way of requesting all done as a way to say like, I'm done with that. I don't want to do it anymore. So kind of like a protest, say I'm finished, and then help, which is a thumbs up with an open palm. And so I'll have a picture of those on the next slide, but those are my favorite signs to introduce first. So I think it's important to be able to request something. So the more like say like I want that, all done, like I'm finished with that. I don't want that, like appropriate way to protest. And I think it's very important to be able to ask for help when you need it. So I need help. And so someone asked the question, what would you recommend when your kiddo understands words but prefers to point and gesture rather than speak unless absolutely necessary? So that is a great question. And what I would recommend is to continue to model those words. Sometimes it's feels like, your child knows what they mean, but it's continuing to provide that example over and over again and modeling the language in a low pressure way. And then I'd also make sure that you're providing opportunities after modeling it and when things are happening for them to produce that language, like we call wait time. And it's waiting and seeing, okay, I'm modeling this a certain amount of times, and then what are they going to do after that wait time? And I'll give a specific example of that with a couple of toys later on, but but my main advice or tip there would be to continue to model that language as well as continue to provide opportunities where they can use those words, and to not be discouraged, because sometimes it does take a while to start communicating those things in other ways. And so making sure too that when you are communicating those, when you are modeling those words, that you're also using the gestures they're using. So they're associating the two of those together, and that you're also communicating with them in the similar way that they're communicating with you. And you're just adding that verbal language there. And then narrating what is happening in the moment. And this goes similarly with the joint attention of talking about what's happening. But in that same way, your kid's running around and playing, oh, you're running so fast, run. The blocks fall down. Oh, the blocks fell. They fell. Let's put them back up. Let's stack them up, stacking up the blocks, stacking up. And you're kind of just narrating like what's happening in their life, like it's a story almost. And this provides additional meaning for them because it's what they're already doing. So going back to that joint attention of it's already their interest, they're already doing it, and you're coming in and you're providing language for what they're already doing. So these are those signs. Again, the more, the all done, and help. So next, the power of music. So talk about how to use music to support your child's language growth in everyday life. And so a few of the songs I like to use are Wheels on the Bus, the cleanup song. You can see them listed here. But some ways that using music is beneficial. Number one, it's usually very motivating and fun. And so that might be another way too to incorporate that language when your child is gesturing and using those things already, and you want to further that, but building that routine, that consistent language. So for example, how you might use it in a routine would be like, there's this wash your hands song that I sing, like, every time you're washing your hands, I wash your hands, wash them really good. Wash your hands. And so then there's that song associated with it, like that's fun, we recognize the tune, and then we're kind of narrating what's happening. We're using that language, providing that language or meaning for what is occurring. And a similar thing with the cleanup song, the clean up, everybody everywhere. I will say with that, in like building that routine and just knowing what's happening, I'm not going to say this happens every time, because it does not, but there have definitely been kiddos that I've worked with who, I'll say, oh, it's not, I sing the cleanup song every time we clean up, just very naturally, whether they're joining in with me or not. And I've had some kiddos that I'll say, oh, it's time to clean up, let's clean up. And I'll even model like cleaning up. And they're not paying attention to me or joining me. And then I start singing like clean up, everybody everywhere. Immediately start cleaning up. Just music has that effect on us where you like recognize that, we're like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing when that happens. And might help us transition into that next thing. So just a cool way that music can be used. It can also provide meaning to what's happening. So for example, it's raining outside. He's like, oh, it's raining. Rain, go away. Come again another day. It's like providing that context of like, oh, this is something that's happening, and this is language, and in a way that is fun and motivating, as well as there's something comforting about music to all of us. Most of us love music, and it can be soothing, but there's also the comfort of the fact that it's always the same. The song has the same lyrics. We know what's coming. We know what to expect. And so when we know the routine of something and we know what's going on, and then we put language to that, it's easier to understand that language and really comprehend it, because we're not being thrown twists and turns in what's gonna be happening. We already know what's going to be happening. And so we're better able to understand that language that's coming alongside. And then lastly, with songs, movements. So using gestures and movements with songs, and I would recommend in this too, because it also because for the reasons of it building engagement and connection, as well as the fact that you're better able to easily manipulate like how fast or slow it's going, is you singing yourself. And whether you're a phenomenal singer or not great singer, it doesn't really matter. It just, rather than having it playing somewhere, and I'll show you what I mean. So if it was, playing Wheels on the Bus go round and round, and it's just going the same speed, it's staying constant, and we're engaging in it together, we're doing the movements, we're having fun, but it's, might be going fast, or we're not able to pause and see or provide those opportunities like I was talking about for additional communication to occur. But if I am singing it myself, I'm like, oh, the doors on the bus go open and shut, open and shut, open and shut. I'm able to have those pauses. Like once they already know that, like, that's what we're doing, that's our gesture. They're like, okay, like let's bring our hands together, or like they start clapping to show me open and shut. And it just provides that, not only that engagement, and as you probably noticed, again, my hands are by my face. It's just a very natural way to draw that attention there. But it also provides the opportunity for them to communicate in something that's engaging and fun, and they know what to expect, and they want it to continue, and they're just doing what you're doing and imitating there. And so next is play. So play, very motivating, meaningful, and fun. Play is quite literally the job of children. It is their job, and it is the best way that they learn. We see kids learn so much more quickly in play. And it's because play is meaningful to them. It's what's happening in the moment. It has meaning to them. It's familiar to them. It's motivating to them. And so we learn best through play. And so we're kind of going to see how really all these things come together in play, and talk about some specific examples with play as well. So again, in play, getting face to face. If they're on the floor, if possible, you being on the floor. And if they're running around and they're little tiny, and you getting on your knees and being on the floor and scooting around after them, if possible. Just being on their level, it just makes it so much easier and more natural for them to engage with you and connect with you, especially if engagement and connection is something that they're having difficulty with. You're right there. You're making it as easy as possible for them to shift over to you, rather than looking up and making that intentional effort. They don't have to try. And then engaging in joint attention by focusing on what is important to them, by following their lead. And so if we're over here playing with a specific thing and engaging in play in a certain way, instead of trying to get them to do something different in play, which is something we do want to do sometimes, and is a different concept and skill. But at this stage, focusing on meeting them where they are and following their lead in play, because they have a goal, they have a mission in what they're doing, and they're much more likely to engage with you if you join them in what they're doing, rather than trying to bring them into what you're doing. And so they notice, like, oh, someone can join me in this, and this is super exciting and engaging and fun, and I'm continuing to get to do what I'm already enjoying doing, already motivated by, rather than someone trying to pull me away from that to something different, which you're trying to show them another way to play and how they can engage with you and play in a toy with a different toy and this way. And that might be something that they're interested in. They might shift their attention to that. But when we're working on building that engagement and connection, it's really important to follow the lead of the child, because they're showing you by that what they're interested in and what they're motivated by. And we want to pay attention to those things, because those are very beneficial in building that joint attention together. Modeling language in play. And so like the sounds, the signs, the gestures, even the words. And we talked about this in modeling language in general, but in modeling language in play, it provides context for what's going on. A huge recommendation I have here is having your own toy in play. So for example, if for playing with baby doll, and there's only one baby doll, I'm like, oh, well, let me show you something. And like, I have the baby doll and I'm like, oh, good night, baby. Shh, good night. We're going to sleep. And oh, the baby wants to eat. And we're doing different things there. I'm showing you, and the child might be interested in that, but then I'm like, oh, here, you do it, your turn. And so then they have to, remember those things and think about, oh, they might not know that you want them to do the same thing that you just did. But if you both have a baby doll, they have a baby doll, you have a baby doll. Oh, and I'm not asking them to do anything. I'm just modeling what they can do. I'm like, oh, we're going to feed the baby. Here, eat, feed the baby. good night, baby. Oh, shh. Thanks. Shh. I'm showing they have the opportunity to practice and try that play for themselves in that same moment that you have it. They're able to look and check and see, oh, what are they doing? Like, how can I do the same thing? And they're just doing it because they want to do it with you, not because they're being asked to do it, which number one, they're more likely to do, and number two, like has more meaning for them. And so that's super powerful. And I'm going to talk on the next slide about some other specific toys that you can look at and language you can use with those. But lastly, with the using music, so building routines, providing meaning for language, increasing interest. One of the ways, just to give an example of using music in play, is when the blocks fall down. I often go, and they all fall down. Just that little part of that song, just to have a different tune, and have found it draws kids more attention more. And it is part of the routine. It's something they're familiar with. Additionally, whenever like playing with animals, I start singing "Oh MacDonald Had a Farm," and I'm talking about like the animal that I'm holding. Like, "Oh MacDonald had a farm." Yeah. On that farm, he had a cow, and like a cow is what we have. And then we do the cow sounds and things like that. And so it's just providing another modality of learning, more interest, more motivation. The repetition, it's the same. So it's just sounds in play, but also just things that you can do in play. One of my favorite things to use in play is bubbles. I don't know if you've ever used bubbles with your kiddos, but if you do, you won't want to stop. But watch all the things that I can do with these bubbles. So I can work on, like open, because we need to open the bubbles. Oh, we're going to open the bubbles. Let's open. And so I open the bubbles. And then I can use, we have the bubbles here. Again, I'm holding it up to my face. Ready, set, go. And then I blow the bubbles. You see, I waited once you already have established the routine of like the ready, set, go, and we know what to expect, even if we just vocalize with go or anything like that, but waiting and doing it slowly and providing that opportunity to communicate in some way, go, like we're ready. I almost always catch a bubble here and hold it up to my face and like, we're gonna pop. Let's pop the bubbles, pop. And so we can pop. The sounds m, b, and p are usually the easiest to imitate, just for the simple reason that you can see them, you can see what they're doing. You can see it better there. And then with like the bubbles, the you can also request more. I like to use these bubbles specifically because I can close them after. And so we call it a communication temptation, where they're going to need my help to open these bubbles or to get more bubbles. And so they might pick it up and be like, hand it back to you and be like, hello, I want more bubbles. And that's what they're saying by handing it back to you. And you're like, oh, you want more? Let's do more bubbles. And so again, it's providing that language for that message that they're communicating by handing it to you. And then again, we're going to open, ready, set, go, do all those same things. Can also be a way to ask for help. Like, oh, you need help. We need help to open. In general, if your kid needs something open or they need your help to like get into something, trying when possible to model language before doing it, still doing it. And not that they have to do it themselves before you do it, before you help them with it. But again, modeling that language so they know another way they can communicate that message and start to understand that. So oftentimes I blow bubbles once or twice and I'm like, yay, bubbles. And I like put them down. I'm like, okay, cool. And they're like, and they try, like, see that they can't do it themselves. And they're like, huh. So it provides that communication temptation. Like we need to ask for help. It's kind of using the tools around us, not immediately do something, but just waiting and seeing, so that they see, oh, I need to communicate the message that I want more, or that I need help in some way. And then you show them how they can communicate that message. With blocks, way like we're building them up, building them up. Oh no, they fell down, or boom, or crash, and like the all fall down thing, and then asking like again, and building them up in that way, or just a few way with blocks, and then cars, like the different car sounds, transportation, beep beep, wee wee wee. Just if they're just rolling the car on the ground, beep beep wee wee. Again, you have a car, they have a car. We both have cars. You can model different things and join them where they are, pretending to crash into vroom vroom, the ready set go. Once again, that verbal model of language. And then, okay, someone asked, do you find certain colors attract attention better? Like a red ball versus green. So I haven't necessarily specifically seen that myself. I know there's some kiddos that like certain colors more than others, and so those are more likely to draw their attention. Or honestly, something that like lights up or is different and has another modality of like, oh, it has like a different texture or feeling, and gets their attention more in that way, or brighter colors too. But I have not specifically seen that certain colors attract attention more. For example, like if I have these two dinosaurs are super fun. If I have these two dinosaurs here, I don't think that if I interacted with the kid in the same way with these two dinosaurs, and I like have a dinosaur, rah, 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 and I have this bright blue dinosaur, and then if I instead had this T-Rex, like the dinosaur says, rah, and I'm using them both in the same way. I have them both by my face. I'm bringing them up. I'm super energetic and using a lot of facial expressions, and again, have it up by my face. In that way, I don't think that they would interact, or it would get their attention more just because of the blue dinosaur. At least I have not seen that personally there. But I do see usually things that light up, get our attention. Have noticed that. And then also asked, how do you recommend handling redirecting or declining? Like, we're going to read now, but we can do more bubbles later. That's a great question. That's a great question. So a couple of ways that I would address that is, I think you're already modeling really well. We're going to read now, but we can do more bubbles later. Kind of a way to even more simplify that would be like first book and then bubbles. And kind of simplifies that language of first we're going to do this and then we can do this. Like, that's coming, but first we're going to do this, which I think is what you are saying there, but that might help further simplify that message using kind of that first then strategy of first book and then bubbles. Another way could be just like when you are playing with the bubbles, making sure they know, oh, if we're going to do them one more time or two more times, and then we're going to be all done. We're going to be finished. Something I found that's super beneficial with like being finished with something or transitioning from one thing to another, or even staying in something for a little bit longer before moving on to doing something else if our desired thing is coming up, is this visual timer. And it's called, if you look up visual timer in your app store, you'll be able to find it. It's called Countdown, and it has a picture of a yellow ducky. I can show you. It's, if you can see it on there, it's called Countdown. It has that yellow ducky on it, and we can say, oh, we're going to read. Time is a very hard concept for me as well. What is 5 minutes, And so providing a visual, again, going back to those visuals, providing a visual for time can be really impactful. And so, oh, we're gonna, so first book and then bubbles. And so I'm gonna, put on the timer. They don't have to know how long it is, but even if it's just 30 seconds, if you're doing it before transition or before they're supposed to clean up or something like that. Oh, we're gonna wait until we can see the whole picture, and then it goes, and how quickly it shows the picture depends on the amount of time it's going for. But then, oh, when this is all done, then we're going to do bubbles. And you can do it for a longer amount of time if you want to read for longer, or, oh, after this was done, then we're all done bubbles and we're going to do the book. And so you are so welcome. If you have any other questions, please let me know and join in. And if before you go, if you want to share your email address and want to learn more, you can share it in the chat, and would love to share more information with you as well. And so yes, that is that concludes the information that I wanted to share. It's just the strategies for building engagement and connection with your child. And so again, getting face to face, being on their level, developing joint attention, so encouraging those moments of shared interest with your child, again focusing on that component of just enjoying something together and both of you noticing and being like, oh, that's super cool, like, are you seeing this? Modeling language in all components, not just words, like with sounds and signs and gestures and movements. The power of music and how you can use that just in your day-to-day routines and in play, and also to further foster that engagement and connection, as well as play, kind of bringing all of those together and really seeing play as being the amazing learning way of learning that it is. Language play is very foundational in our language skills. And so if anyone has any other questions they want to share, and I'm about to share my information too, so if you have any questions that you want to reach out about, please don't hesitate to do that and let me know. Would love to answer any questions that you have.
Ashley,
then,
thank
yeah.
you. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for all of this great information. I know you have another appointment to get to here soon, so I'm sure you can answer like one more question if someone has it, but just thank you so much for giving us your Thursday morning. I mean, this is such a helpful workshop. We really appreciate you and Chris.
Absolutely. Thank y'all so much for having us. Love what y'all are doing and how y'all are supporting families, and excited to be a part of it. And if anyone wants to learn more, we'd love for them to reach out, check out our website. We have ways of providing parent coaching and things like that are on our website. So if you want to learn more, we would love to have you reach out using any of those ways: the phone, emails, via social media, on our website, anything like that.
That's perfect. Thank you. And for anyone that doesn't know, Ashley and her brother Chris also joined us for our sibling panel that we had at our conference this past January. So that's also something, if you didn't get to watch live today, you can watch this recording at a later time, but also grab that recording too, as it's great. So
thank you so much, Jade. I appreciate it.
yeah, well, thank you, Ashley. We'll let you get to your next appointment, and we appreciate you giving us your time.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a great
Have a great
day.
week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.